Yeah, you're good. You're back.
But did you say what my experience had been like since?
Yeah.
Yeah. What, and just what's changed since we last spoke, did you say?
Yes.
Quite a lot of stuff, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Trying to think where to start. I mean, basically, I suppose, rather than starting at the beginning, I suppose the outcome of all the shifts that have taken place is that I feel like I'm way more engaged with life in general now. Like, I feel like I'm really like just clicked into like I've been through like a whole like expansion period. Like I'm figuring out everything that life's about, and then I feel like it's all just clicked in place now. Where I'm ready to go, and just I don't need to do any more. Well, it'll keep obviously expanding, but any more theorizing or figuring out of the one, like the secrets and the point of everything. Now I've got it all in place. It's just like do it to the best of your ability. Like, so I'm a real I have like a real reductionist view on things, and I analyze everything to like its purest form. I'm like everything, like money, relationship, business, job. I'm like, what's the point of this? Why do I need to do this? Do I need to do this? And basically I realized I was kind of presented two paths by the universe, and it was like, you can go down a path where those things aren't your life. Like, there are people that in the world that live without money. There are people in the world that, like, people could reach enlightenment thousands of years ago before jobs even existed. It wasn't like it was impossible to like ascend to high levels of consciousness without those things. But they're real now. And it's like, it's like the universe said to me, you've got all the theory, you can see the two, you could in theory go off on that path and disappear, and no one would ever see you again, kind of thing, and live that really extremely simple life. And that is a possibility. But the other option is just to engage fully with the experience that's right in front of you. And it's like, you literally just have a choice, and you don't need to shy away from success and money, and that's just the way the world is. And you either engage with it fully and go to play full out, or you try and play the simple life game and not have any of those things at all. And it's not that, the way I understood it was, neither path is easy. It's not about escaping. If you're meditating on a mountain for 20 years is probably extremely difficult thing to do. But it's like, so pick one, and then I've just obviously picked to go down, continue on the path that I'm already down. But I just don't feel like I need to question things anymore. I don't need to wonder what's the point of making money or being successful or making it impact and all that stuff. It's just go time. So so it feels really good. It's just like the last couple of days that all clicked into place, but it was definitely building up to a point, and now I'm there. So it feels good.
So beautiful. Yeah, I can see it in my mind's eye. Well, sometimes those periods of analyzing things are really valuable because it helps all the elements click into place.
Yeah, I had to do it. I think I was guided to do that. But yeah.
So any clarity around the direction that you would like to select?
For today?
Today.
Oh, do you mean for my life? Or are you talking about this conversation?
Oh, man, I've got it all mapped out. I've got the whole vision. We're good. Oh, that's where I go. I go into the big picture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you mean for picking between these two paths where I'm going? Is that what you meant? Or?
Yeah. So do you have any clarity of vision for your life, your storyline, the direction that you want to take?
Yeah. I think business is going to be the big thing for me. I think not in terms of like being a successful businessman and making lots of money. I will probably just do that anyway as a result of what I'm doing, but it's just like inspiring and healing the world, I suppose, really. I don't, coaching is definitely going to be a big thing for me, but it's going to be, just freeing people of the shackles of illusion, I suppose, the big thing that I want to do in my life. And I want to write books and do seminars and all that kind of stuff, and got big plans for the future. But I think my life will be a very long unfolding. Like, I don't think it'll be like, well, I'll get to 30 and have a big career peak and then it drops off at the end. I think, and I've actually been told this by a healer and a psychic before, that my life is like a very just gradual, like that all the way to the end, and I probably won't really fully step into my true purpose until later on in life, like really, like probably in my 50s or something like that, like really the top of what I'm supposed to do in this life. So it's quite it's definitely a challenging process, and have to exercise a lot of patience and stability, but it's going to be, I think, business and inspiring the world is my big vision, I suppose.
That's beautiful. While you were speaking, a question popped up around illusion. I would love to hear your perspective on what illusion is to you.
Illusion. Yeah. Well, I suppose it's just forgetting who you are, to me, really. It's like, we are here to become greater than we were before we arrived. But I don't think that we are everything that we can be, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But I think it's just forgetting that you have that potential to be great, and that the universe is permeated with love, and that's the truth, and anything that's the opposite of that is kind of illusion, really. And it serves its purpose. I mean, fear has a purpose, and I'm not going to say resist all the negativity. It's there to teach you something, and it's there for a good reason. But knowing that that's not your ultimate goal, the ultimate endpoint is just knowing that's the truth is the thing, and just not getting caught up in that illusion that you are just physical matter and nothing more. Yeah.
I'm kind of seeing a vision as you're speaking of all the different, and this is where infinity comes from, being the infinite expression of consciousness in all its multifaceted dimensional forms, and I'm seeing it kind of like folding in and out of our bodies, of our cells, and not getting attached to being any one of those things, allowing ourselves to be all of the things. And then I see love as the overarching, enveloping force that kind of just celebrates all parts of that whole, of that infinite spectrum and beyond. It's so much farther beyond what the mind is even capable of conceiving, but loving the whole loving the whole thing. And I think in my experience, that's where liberation has come from, is knowing that it's safe to love all those different parts and those aspects, and instead of needing to transform or transmute them, loving them, and by virtue of that love, it naturally, the energy does evolve. So yeah, very beautiful. I think in my experience recently, it's been about not attaching to any belief systems at all, but just embodying myself fully as that and finding my equilibrium amidst all of that. So equilibrium felt like a powerful, presence, equilibrium, aliveness, vibrancy, just wanting to feel alive and creative and present. Yeah, and allowing it to unfold itself.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that as well, because I've just kind of recently realized there's like, I mean, it sounds obvious to say it, but there's, especially with like thought processes, there's like the universal intelligence that runs within you will always, if you let it kind of optimize your thought processes and guide them where they need to be. Like if your mind's all over the place and all a mess and you don't know what to think or what to believe, if you just stop and allow everything to calm down and settle, your mind will automatically just begin to, well, I suppose you're channeling it as well, but your thoughts will be able to just start becoming more clear and more precise and make sense. And it's like you don't even, like you said, letting go of the belief systems, you can just allow the universal intelligence to guide you. You don't have to like fix your mind or figure everything out as such. If you just stop, like I see it like if you imagine a bowl of cloudy water, it's all agitated, or the only way to let it become clear again is to let it settle. And when if you do that, then the universal intelligence will guide you, and you won't have to like necessarily figure things out or fix the mess in your mind. You just kind of let it do its thing, and you can live quite intuitively like that, and quite openly, and just be guided to what you need to understand. Like I did that for, I've heard it called the grazing principle, and I kind of practiced it like for a week, where I just literally just stopped trying to achieve anything. And I knew that if something needed to come up that I needed to learn, the universe would just bring it to me. I didn't need to go and look for things to fix in myself. I didn't need to go and intentionally read loads of self-help books and stuff like that. It was just like you just wait and just go about life, and then what you need, the negativity or whatever it is, the lesson you need to learn will just be delivered to you. That's exactly what happened, and I had a big breakthrough from it. So, but that wouldn't have happened if I was trying to like figure everything out. So that was quite a cool shift to me, and I'll probably return to it at times, but it just, yeah, it was cool.
I think that's such a beautiful space to play in. It's natural calibration. Is what it feels like to me. Just allow the calibration to happen, and rest in that space as you need to. And I find for me, whenever I do that and I allow everything to come to that point of equilibrium, I just have pristine clarity of thought and of vision in particular. And it's almost like the piercing silence, except it's this lucidity of vision, and I can see things and I can see into the future. And I've been seeing some really beautiful things lately as it relates to some of the developments in the world, which I'm excited to explore when the moment is right. But then I love to be super inquisitive, so I ask questions. I've just got pages upon pages upon downloads around how this all works and how we're creating it and how we can construct a new storyline, and what would it take to reconfigure our DNA or really just our cellular memory so that we can activate and allow our potential to emerge, and all of this. Like what's the most efficient way to make that happen for humanity? That's been one of my explorations, because I certainly took a very catalytic path and went through a lot of deep challenge that I don't think, it was beautiful and beneficial, and a lot of the integrations that happened for me would not have occurred any other way. And I don't even know if it's possible for those integrations to occur any other way, but I don't think that everybody necessarily needs to go through that to activate remembrance. So that's been a dance within me too, looking at what would be the most beneficial for the whole. Does everybody need to go through this process, or is there a way that we can rewrite the script in in a completely revolutionary and fresh way, without without having to do things the way that we've always done them. And so I've had some profound and beautiful downloads around all of that, because we're at the space and the frequency of the collective now, where we have the opportunity to overwrite that cellular memory. We don't necessarily need to dive fully into everything the way that we did in the past, although the benefit of doing that is it unlocks wisdom and potential within infinite consciousness itself. But for us to create something new, we don't necessarily need to go there. So it's also kind of looking at the goal of the individual. Do you want to, how deep do you want to go? And not very many people will do that depth of work in a singular lifetime. And so looking at the logistics of that, I suppose.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely kind of relate to that. I mean, some of the things that I've figured out, and obviously shared some of it with you as well, and just the realizations and stuff about the universe. It's like, I feel like I'm doing it so other people don't have to. Yeah. It's like, it's taken me so much focus and patience and presence to be able to just filter through all the different perceptions and possibilities and finally get to the core of it. And it's a lot of work. It's
a lot of work.
There's no way you could expect everyone to do that. So it's like, if you can create a body of work or some process or something that you can pass on to other people that just optimizes the whole the whole process for humanity collectively, I think that's the magic. And I think everyone has their own little thing. Like, obviously everyone's in a different life path, but I think the pioneers of like humanity, they all have their own individual thing, and it's like you can see that they went through that. I can basically pick up their entire life's work maybe in a single book or something, and then I go and take that and expand on that. Someday someone else are going to expand on what I've done. But I think that's absolutely crucial, because if everyone had to figure everything out individually, it'd be a very very slow process. But and the catharsis as well, just from reading other people's journeys and stories, you can get the same experience from just hearing someone's story and not have to go through it, just by reading someone's story, like in detail, or reading someone's memoir or something. It's like, I can feel what you mean, and I have that lesson and the learning and experience, but I don't have to go and do it myself. So it's a pretty cool system.
That's such a gift. I mean, I remember incarnating into this particular life cycle, and I knew I was going to be taking one for the team. Like, I came in with that kind of warrior spirit of, okay, this is temporary, and you can sustain anything that's temporary. And I knew I was going to be going through the depth of that catharsis so that I could help people optimize, essentially. And that's kind of the conclusion that I've come to in my own work, is it's not essential for everybody to go through this. And I think there's still a lot of schools of thought around that, because it's hard to move past that, right? Because there's like I understand that, is what I'm saying, because for me in my journey, I danced with, is it possible to have these awarenesses and these understandings without moving deeply into that catharsis? And the answer that I came to was yes, but it's teaching people how to powerfully optimize and overwrite some of those stored programs and memories, and to create that fresh blank canvas so that we can create a new collective story, because that's what has to happen right now. Things have tipped in a beautiful direction, but we've got to continue to empower those ascended timelines by living in them. And that's something that's been a point of fascination for me recently, is helping people close that gap between mind and matter. How do I actually materialize the vision? How do I bring it? How do I crystallize it in the physical dimension? And so that's where I feel like workshops and retreats and one-on-one work and transmitting has been really powerful and beautiful, because it feels deeply enjoyable for me to encourage people's creative process, to encourage their vision and help them to powerfully ground into it and live in it before it even shows up in the outside hologram, to start living in that, and to find the you know, just the passion in that, because you know that when you start living in the vision, it has no choice but to show up and manifest itself. So yeah, it feels fun to explore those things with people and focus on that part of the picture entirely, and not need to go through the more cathartic pieces that you know, are pretty prevalent still within the context of healing communities. And I think it's beautiful if people feel called to that. It's still in service to whomever they're serving. So yeah,
I think that's huge, that just the optimization. I think that is the fastest way to impact the world. And I think it's it's very, very real, and part of the built part of the system, which fortunately is available to us to pass that knowledge on to people who just implement it very quickly, rather than having to go through the whole turbulent experience themselves. But I think, and kind of, I mean, I've been guided to understand in the past that the human experience will begin to speed up, like in terms of how many lifetimes you have to master the human experience. If you, like, new souls will be able to come into the human experience one day and be able to move through it and master it in much fewer lifetimes than it's taken us. Like, some people have probably been on planet Earth over 1,000 times, and that's a lot of lifetimes to come and learn. And I kind of understood that one day it'll be like almost a quick fire experience. That'll be intense and there'll be a lot of learning, but it'll just become so optimized that you'll be able to probably do, and just maybe in very few lifetimes. And that's because of the work that people like you are doing today, because you're speeding up the learning process for other people, so they don't have to spend as much time figuring it out themselves and struggling along. So it's very noble.
Well, I mean, I couldn't imagine, you know, I think if I had a child, you know, like, what? I want their experience to be inspiring and empowering, you know, and creative. And how can I bring that to the rest of humanity? And so that's what I was feeling into, is I don't, with that mother energy in me, I would never want to see anybody else have to go through what I had to go through to gain the awareness that I've gained. And as you're speaking too, I'm speeding up the collective timeline. Once you inhabit a certain depth of mastery, especially as it pertains to energetics within yourself, you learn how to do in the collective field what you have learned to do for yourself. And that is a profoundly powerful technology to work with, because then you can go into the unified field and start to do that work. But it also takes a very strong physical capacity to do that as well. So, and there are beings on this planet who are doing that, you know. I wouldn't say there's a whole lot, but there's
I was going to say that it's probably humans that we will never see and we will never know their names, but they're balancing the raising the, or counterbalancing the lower levels of consciousness, and doing an incredible service for humanity. But yeah, we'll never know them. But that's an awesome thing to be able to do for humanity, for the world.
Well, that's why I have this on. It's you have to stay in harmony. It's really the only way. It's otherwise. What was that?
What is it?
Well, this is a vortex, and it's been very grounding for me.
Yeah.
And it has the orgone, but it just yeah, to stay grounded, because oh yes. Vibrational tools is incredibly powerful, helpful. I think that's another thing that I really love about this work, and one of the things that I feel inspired to do is to provide vibrational support to people in whatever way I can. Because for me, it's just, I've got the collective flowing in and out of my body constantly, and that I have to be in a space of equilibrium to ground and hold all of that. But because my energy just is expanded into the whole thing. And I remember getting to a point where I felt in my own journey so much fire coursing through my veins. I'm like, okay, I feel this. It's here. It's happening. This is real. What do I do with this in this body? And the only thing I could do is relax and let my energy expand into all corners of consciousness, essentially. And then my practice is to stay in balance, in equilibrium. And that's really the primary thing for me, and supporting myself vibrationally in whatever way I can to sustain that. Yeah, because you feel the whole thing as it's shifting. And then, yes, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, keeping the vibration high makes it really easy to keep your balance. Like, much easier. Like I've like, it's not so much of a thing anymore. But I used to have like big challenges balancing my masculine and feminine energy. That would be like I try and push on the masculine too much, and I'd feel like I was overdoing it, and it'd be like, oh, this doesn't feel right, and then I'd pull back too much, like more of that expansive feminine energy, and it's like, oh, I just feel a bit like I'm holding back too much now. And it's but what I noticed is when I was like, my vibration was high and I was full of energy, I was able to get into more of a flow and have more of that masculine energy, and not have it like feel unstable, like I was pushing too hard. And you just get into like it just feels like a flow state, and it's like I don't really need to think about what I'm saying or how I'm talking to people or how I'm acting in the world. It's like it's all just like clicked into place, and it feels good, because I think a lot of people shy away from that, being assertive and being like the universe doesn't want you to be like a wishy-washy, airy-fairy, not able to say what needs to be said. I mean, you have to be able to, when you have to be able to channel that kind of that masculine power. And if it feels like you're being a bad person, or you just feel a bit, oh, this doesn't feel right, you need that has to be worked on. Like you need to be able to, I think anyway, to really move to high levels of consciousness and awareness, you really need to be able to step into that power. And like this, I always like to use Jesus as an example, because like Jesus could be like a really assertive and stern person, and he wasn't like some guy that was just like, oh, peace and love, let's just all like and I've heard a lot of like people that have channeled him and stuff, and when he's something needs to be said, he just says it, and there's no holding back. And people talk about the archangels like that, and they just they're not there to be nice to you, they're there to teach you and to show you what what needs to be done. So that's been definitely a big thing for me, and keeping vibration high just seems to make it so much more easy. Like you just don't need to think about it as much. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, love has to be anchored down by power. It has to be. It's foundational, and the wisdom and the potency to go with it. I mean, that's really what, that's the gift of equilibrium to me, is because it allows me to see into reality. And I can't really effectively do my work if I'm not in that space, to receive the visions and to translate. Well, how do we optimize all of this? You know, I'm accessing all of this straight from the holographic field. I'm not going to other sources for this information. So for me, I have to stay in that space of potency and just clarity of vision. And it's really cerebral in a lot of ways, like detaching from me as myself as an identification and going, what do I need to support the work? What do I need to support this frequency so that I can access all of this vision and this information, and then, you know, share that with other people to help them optimize their experience. So and that's definitely a dance between the masculine and the feminine, that the love and the power, because they are both essential pieces, because this work is done out of love, for love. But that, that the power has to be there. Otherwise it just, you know, your sails will get tossed around in the wind. It's the foundation, really. You know, you can't build a house without a solid foundation, without the floor.
Absolutely. Yeah. That kind of alludes back to what I was talking about right at the beginning about taking, you know, choosing a path. Like, do you want to play the big kind of play the society, the game that's set up in society today, or do you want to play like a more of a minimalist game and not be so involved in society, not, you know, live a simple lifestyle, you know, out as a traveler or something, not really engage with society? But you have to pick one. And I think this is one of the things that especially spiritual people and even spiritual entrepreneurs struggle with, is that they can't pick between the two. They're like, oh, I feel bad about making a lot of money, and or should I charge people money, and am I worthy of living an abundant lifestyle? Is this spiritual? So they're kind of edging towards that minimalist lifestyle, but they don't take the step. So they're kind of living in this place where I need to make money and I want to be an abundant, empowered person, but I'm not going into my power in this path either. They just end up making neither decision and either. You never really like step into that power and just make the most, like whichever path you take, you just need to just step into your power and make the most of life and just kind of squeeze every drop out of it. And it doesn't matter which path you take, but you just need to play, in my opinion, you need to play full out. And that does require the balancing of the masculine and the feminine, and, you know, just be like, I'm not gonna be stopped. I'm just gonna, you know, express myself with who I truly am and just win at the game of life. But you definitely, and to really engage with life and get the rich experience, you have to have that power. And I think that's what a lot of people, humanity is lacking at the moment, and especially like in the spiritual space, people they don't have that power, and it doesn't feel right. It's like, oh, you know, I shouldn't be making money, or I shouldn't be successful, I shouldn't speak out. And I think that's a big piece. But definitely, obviously, balancing both is the magic. But
yeah, absolutely, I'm with you 100%. I think that love, man, I feel like I naturally love. I think I love in places that most people don't dare to go into and love. And so that has always been a little bit more natural to me. My power, on the other hand, has been a journey, and now it is my greatest, I would consider it my greatest asset and my greatest capacity. And I can guide people powerfully into to their power. And I think those two paths, you know, it's interesting because I have a deep respect for everybody's free will, choice, and decision in their life, and this thing is infinite. So, you know, you have plenty of opportunity to choose. But my opinion, particularly at this juncture in the collective unfolding, that's a difference. Those choices are a difference between service to self and service to the whole, because it does take courage, and it does take empowerment, and it does take strength to step up really and live to our full potential. And every single one of us are needed at this point. Everybody is needed to be in their genius, which is why I'm passionate. I'm so passionate about bringing that out of people, because everybody inherently possesses a gift, a genius based on their wisdom and their experience, and we all need to bring that forth to really make this thing go in a new direction, powerfully. And so my encouragement would be to choose the path. Choose the path that may be a stretch for you and will call you to stand in your full power, but choose it for something beyond just you. You can still make those lifestyle choices. You can still live minimally, but please share yourself with the world, and know that it is safe to do that. I mean, man, I know how tricky that can be around expression too. Learning to trust ourselves enough to bring what we're experiencing internally out, and to allow that to be different too, to allow that to be something completely different and evolutionary. And that's what's needed. That's what we need. We need your genius, your quirkiness, all the things that you think aren't going to be accepted. That's precisely what we need at this time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is that's like, it's the only way for you to grow as well. Like, you're simultaneously benefiting yourself and humanity. But the only way that will happen is if you just step into that power and just engage with the experience and richness of life. Mm-hmm. And there's no way round. There's no like side path to enlightenment. You can't just like go around and then come back in at the end. You just go straight through.
Yeah. You do it now or you do it later, but you still got to do it. That's so true.
You have to go through the fire, and it benefits you, and by you going taking that path, you're simultaneously doing it for humanity as well. So it's just a win-win really. But it has if you're holding back and you're not playing big, and you don't think you're worthy, or you don't think it's right, you question. I mean, I've been in this place, and you're just questioning the system too much. That's what I came back. We didn't, even though we like to think it in our human minds, we didn't create the Earth life system. It's engineered an intelligence way beyond ours, but we're here, and we're here to engage with it and make it, the best that it can be. But the laws of the universe are going to be there whether you're here or not. So it's like, don't doubt it. You're here for a reason, and just crush it. Just do it. You're going to change your life, and you're going to change the planet as well. And it's all set up for you. It's all set up to succeed. You don't need to wonder about it. You don't need to wonder, am I a good person, or am I worthy of this? It's already set up for you to just succeed. So just do it.
That's man, I think you get to a point where you can't feel fulfilled unless you do. At least that's been my experience. And also I've been in those really tender, raw, vulnerable spaces where that opening is occurring, because we're literally becoming naked with life. And, you know, that's parts of ourselves that have never been exposed before. And it's just, you know, it's like when your bare skin gets kissed by the sunlight for the first time and you're afraid you're going to get sunburned. And those are, you know, relatively rational fears, because we will deal with a little bit of opposition, and it's ultimately a reflection of our own self-opposition, but we move through it, and, you know, and you keep going. And that's where community is really powerful too, being around people who will build you up and enhance your gifts and pull them out of you and draw out those aspects, so that you feel confident and powerful and vibrant and alive and able to give of yourself to the world. And we all go through those cycles in our own timing, and I think it's really safe to trust that. But you certainly, in my experience, there comes a point where you just can't feel fulfilled unless you're giving it. I mean, that's really what the mood is. It's just what it is. It's just giving what is in out. And I mean, that's speaking of wealth, that is what wealth is the result of. It is allowing our inner wealth to be shared, expressed, and giving in the world, and keeping that infinity loop open, giving and receiving. And it'll always come back to you, and all you've got to do is be you, the true you, what you have going on inside, what you're thinking about, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what your life lessons have been, what your wisdom is, and just give that. And and I'm not even just talking about I'm talking about wealth. This is where wealth comes from. You know, not taking somebody else's system and repurposing it and duplicating it and giving it. No, it's like you allowing yourself to emerge in the world. And that is where true lasting wealth and fulfillment will come from. And it's just getting in touch with learning how to love and value all those parts of ourselves and our journey and our experience and who and what we are. And then we can truly give that in a way, in a really pure and authentic way, and allow it to do what it's meant to do for whom it's meant to do it for, and to continually do it. And how fun is that? We get to create and be ourselves. You know, like, yeah, what a gift. We don't have to follow a formula. We can, you know, trust all of this, and we can carve our own path, and we can allow our unique thoughts and ideas to come through and be of a benefit. You know, I think I was at a convention this past weekend, and it was so beautiful to just be in that space with so many brilliant, open-minded, open-hearted people who are just, you know, allowing themselves to think differently. That to me is one of the most refreshing environments to be in. People who think differently, who don't plug into the mass storyline or storylines. You know, go to the ocean, go wherever, spend time in nature, connect with themselves, and present these new wild ideas, because they end up being solutions to some of the world's greatest, I'm not going to call them problems, I will say opportunities for evolution. And these are these people who are tapping into that and asking questions and going within and having the courage to then give that. And, you know, I mean, I tap into things like that, and I don't know if they make sense, right? Like, because I don't. So one of the things that has been coming through in my experience over the past several months is the infrastructure for blockchain. I don't really know a whole lot about blockchain, but people that are involved in it keep kind of showing up in my experience. So I did a little bit of research, and I started having visions of the infrastructure and how it could potentially evolve. And I have no idea if it makes sense. I have no idea if it would actually be of any value or benefit. But it's fun to tap into that and play with that and think that we all have the capacity to tap into more expanded states of consciousness, because we're all connected to the expanded states of our own mind. You know, another thing that I play with too, and this is just kind of like painting in the larger landscape of things, is what did create gravity, what did create the orbit in our solar system. You know, these are agreements made by consciousness. These are conscious agreements. I don't think we're going to actively work on those agreements right now because we've got ground level stuff to play with and, you know, change and evolve. But it's fascinating to conceptualize because everything is a manifestation of mind. And so the question then becomes, which mind is doing the manifesting? And if I'm connected to myself in that way, how powerful is my mind? What can I shift and rearrange and create? And how big can I play? You know, beyond even this dimensional experience. And so it's fun to, like, I love to go way out and then bring it all back in. And I honestly, I think the only reason that I can go so far out is because I've gone so deep in. So deep in. And they're all just, it's all feedback. It's all a holographic refraction of itself. Ourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty expansive. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to be, certainly in the next, like, 10, over the course of my lifetime, probably just going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into that stuff. And I want to keep it, I feel in a way like called to blend it with like quantum physics or neuroscience. Like I've actually been told a couple of times in readings that one of my life path, or one of my qualities is, one of my gifts, and what I'm supposed to do is take really esoteric spiritual concepts and turn them into, you know, understandable, applicable, practical tools for humanity. So I think that will be a big thing for me, probably a bit later on in my life, really, when I get really into the expansive stuff. But that's like a real passion of mine. Like, if you can just, like, quantum physics is like amazing even today, but if we can just keep pushing the boundaries and just figure out incredible things about the universe that most people, like, the world's not even aware of at the moment, and then bring that back into a way that you can quantify it and present it to people, is just like, I think that's magic for me.
That's so beautiful. To me, that feels like the foundation. And it's, a couple of things are coming through as you're sharing this with me. The first one is, you know, there's about a 10-year quest that I went on where I was traveling and learning and studying many different sciences and philosophies and religions and all of this, and really deeply studying and exploring them too, not just taking, you know, I really devoted myself to those bodies of work and gained a lot of wisdom from each of them independently, and then along with my own experience, sometimes it just served as confirmation. And there's so much peer-reviewed science around all of this, and that's part of, like, this next life phase is gathering that, having a research team, because I'm aware of it, and I could go in there and do all that research, and that's fun. I have organized how, like, what I want the research done around, but at this point in time, it just feels more effective for me to be visionary and to allow that, because I already know it's there, and to give the mind something to initially hold on to develop a baseline level of trust in those capacities that we have as creators. And then eventually you start to experience the outward manifestation and the results of that enough times that you don't need to hold on to that anymore. And then you can start dancing in the realm of what is creating the facts. Is, you know, are we responding to quantum science, or are we creating it? via our observations of reality and our inquiry into reality. So we can start to create new facts. We can start to create new stories. And that's kind of the, that's where I'm going with the turnaround. So there's like a vision there of like, how do we actually craft a new storyline, and how do we consciously understand the inner technologies that we are working with that are very real and vital and alive and powerful, and will help us to shift this thing in a completely different direction that is beneficial to everybody that's on the planet. And how can we do that in a quick way? Because I would love to think that my children and their children have at least a really nice head start on this, and then they don't have to spend their lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, it's interesting what you said there about how we like creating the facts, and I've always kind of seen, well, always, just recently, I mean, I kind of see science as like a prover. Like you figure it out, and then science comes and proves it, and then you move ahead, and then science will catch up, and then you move ahead, and then science will catch up, and it kind of just creates a tangibility. That's kind of the value of science for me. Like, because I think the way I see it, anyways, quantum physics is like basically proving what a lot of spiritual teachers have been saying for thousands of years in a roundabout way. I see it as it's just kind of quantifying what already is. But I think that's still extremely exciting, because that's another optimizer that's just going to speed things up. If you can read a book on quantum physics and meditation and just learn about it in like a couple of weeks, and that's just going to, if everyone starts doing that, the rate of expansion will be absolutely huge in the world. So that's definitely going to be one of my passions. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work at all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's awesome. His new book is, have you read his new book, Becoming Supernatural?
No, but I think I've lived it, so
and he's got like all the quantum physics and measuring transformation and all that kind of stuff, and it's like
exquisite.
But, and even he's a neuroscientist, and he says don't ever wait for science to say that you can go and do something.
Right.
Go and do something, and then let science come and come and show how you did it. But you should never ever wait for permission to go and do the supernatural you should always just go and do it.
I am with him 1000%, because that science just confirms the experience, the observation that we are already having, and it's beautiful. I love when people are just so into that. They're so into going there, because it's in such service to everybody else, and that's what makes this such an integrative experience. Is that some people love delving into that dimension of things, and some people love delving into this dimension of things. And when you get a group of masters together who are just, like that is their area of genius, and they're just tapped into that, and you can come together and present all of these things to help guide and shift things in new directions. It's just powerful. And that's the gift of everybody awakening their genius and coming together in that way, because we're all compelled, I think, naturally towards certain things, and that's the gift of that. It's all necessary, it's all important and valuable and needed. I'm really excited to read this book now. I'm very excited to read it. And that's I work with people on neurological development, because I recognize that it's all mind. It is all mind. And if we can optimize the mind, people will start to awaken to a lot of these awarenesses automatically, naturally. So I just go right to the root. instead of trying to teach the concepts, because if somebody's mind's not in cohesion and they're not balanced, or if they're not operating at that frequency, the conceptualization of an idea is not going to register anyways, because they're not vibrationally and neurologically prepared to assimilate the data, the light, the information, whatever that is. So it's just like the preparatory. And then after that, the frequency takes care of everything else. You know, once you're tapped into that, those streams, you're tapped in. You can access that on your own. And that's, you know, feels very important to me, is help people tap into that space for themselves on their own. And then they're good. You're good. You know, self-governed, sovereign creators who understand how to and have the capacity to access all of that within themselves, and then can add and contribute to the larger picture.
Yeah. The technology is within everyone. You just have to, you don't have to understand all the details and everything, but if you can just learn how to utilize it, then it's infinite possibilities available to you. But it's just experiential. You just got to do it, haven't you? It's not, and the magic will unfold. Like, you can do the humans can do incredible things, like just like reading in from Dr. Joe's book. Like, he's actually teaching people how to have mystical experiences. Like, actually just sit down, do this, and keep doing it, and you'll have a mystical experience. And it's just like and it's like, even if the science wasn't there, like, his big part of his work is science, but I mean, even if the science isn't there, it's still just, if you experience it, it's real, and if you can replicate it, then and teach someone how to do it, it's just, that's it. That's all that matters, really. And then let the science catch up. But obviously, like the work that you're doing, it's just, you're helping people. It works and it's real. So it's just that's the true value.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, for me, the fun place to play in is to inner technologies, right? So how can we use our inner technology to create the outside, to create the outside world, to create the outside hologram? How can we, and then how can we explore different technologies? So that's something I always love to channel through. I'm like, okay, because I'll get a whole new data set, is what I call it. So I'll just get flooded with data, and it'll just be real juicy and exciting, and I'll get it, and I'll get the download, and I'll practice the thing, and I'll see how it works in my physical reality so that I can translate it from my knowing. And then I'm like, okay, what's next? It's like, I love living in that visionary space because it's so open-ended. There's so much to explore and to discover. It's just a never-ending stream of vision. And then as I go along and I record these different technologies, and I'm able to transmit them from that space of felt perception, because I can just slip back into the space of utilizing the technology. And just playing with people in those spaces, because I think that part of this journey is learning how to master just this one body, and then there's learning how to master this body out here, like the larger creator body that we are. And I love to go there. I love to play in those expansive fields of creation. And those technologies are very helpful in doing that. And just on a really basic level, I love seeing, this is one of my favorite things with my clients, when they feel empowered, when they start to believe in themselves, in their creative capacity, in their abilities, and they have profound shifts in awareness and perception, new ways of looking at things that enable them to then live differently, to experience life differently, and to create differently for themselves, and how simple the creation process is. It is not difficult. It is not challenging. There's not all of these, like, these are different dimensions of the creation process that are fun to play with. But creation itself is so simple. It's just about staying in our knowingness, our remembrance of who and what we are, and choosing. That is it. I'm not going to make it any more complex than that. It's about choosing. It is about deciding what we want and ordering that from the hologram, utilizing our free will. I mean, that's one of the most powerful tools that we have, is our free will. So we choose, and then we start living in the vision of it until it becomes the reality. That's all. Yeah. And how empowering is that? I just decide, and then I start taking preparatory action in the direction of the decision that I have made.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's the magic, really, of creating. And it isn't really that complicated. It's just it's just the baggage and the mind that gets in the way, and I suppose all the social conditioning as well. There's all sorts of stuff you can put up in, but it is extremely simple. I mean, quantum physics has proved that when you observe where the electron's going to appear, it collapses from energy into particle instantly wherever you observe. And that's how fast your reality starts creating. It's like that. Mm-hmm. You just have to keep doing it until it eventually builds up enough of an energy field to manifest into reality. But it is the universe, the quantum field, and the higher dimensions is the universe. So like thought, like immediately, like thought responsive. It's like you think something, it manifests into reality instantly. The only difference on Earth is that because we live in a more dense environment, it slows down that collection of energy, which makes you like think there's a time delay, or why is this not happening? But all it is just the field in a more dense dimension of the universe. But it's just happening, and some things do manifest pretty much instantly on the Earth plane anyway. Like, and some goals, some things you want to manifest do take longer, but it is extremely simple. Just knowing that energy field is building up as soon as you observe it. So,
That's where strength and integrity and integration are really valuable, because depending on how big your manifestation is, you've got to be able to powerfully move a big energy. And that's where activations are really powerful. And that's why I do DNA activations for people, because I recognize how quickly do we want to catalyze this, and having just the strength to move that energy powerfully in the direction that they are desiring. One, for awakening; two, for the evolution of our genetics, and the expansion of our potential and our access to our potential, and then also grounding it in what it is that they are wanting to create and accelerating that. And I'm just going to do this really quick because I just got an image. It's like that we are energy, right? Okay, so we're gonna draw infinite creation on a notepad, and we're all these atoms and photons and particles and energy, humans, mountains, stars, galaxies, aliens, all of the things that we are in this creation. We are standing here as a point of creation. Every time that we focus our energy and make a command, so this is really what prayer is. We make a command, and all of these other atoms and particles and photons respond to that command, to that decision, and start to rearrange and orchestrate themselves to meet what it is that we've asked for. So divine timing is a reconfiguration of values, of conditions, of focus, of story, all of that. When we're waiting, it's okay to relax, because just recognize that the field is rearranging itself. And so the key then is to not doubt it, because then you've now shifted your focus. And so you've introduced a little bit of resistance to that creation, which is okay, it's fine. But so it's about mastering your focus. Your focus determines your reality. Was that Star Wars?
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's powerful. It's very powerful when we really allow that to penetrate our awareness and step into our capacity as creators in that way and start to really direct and guide the ship. Because there's not anything that we cannot create. And we are the point of power. We are the source. We are the source of our creation. We are the source of choice, of power, of sovereignty, of all of it. And we can step into it in any moment that we decide to. And then it's just about having the tools and the practices in place to sustain that awareness, and to be present to it from moment to moment to moment, and utilize it, really.
I'd love to know how does the DNA activations like speed up or optimize the process? 'Cause it's not a work that I've ever read into. I'd just love to know more about it, really.
So the DNA contains the blueprint for infinite creation, and in most of us, that potential, that light, that data, that information is only partially awakened. It's dormant. So it awakens. So I give commands. That's how I do it. I go through somebody's energy field and their hologram, and I give direct commands to the cells, the particles of the body, the DNA, all of this, to activate those energies, those frequencies, that DNA, so that they have the emergence of that light that is already within them, that yes, you're being supported by solar flares and all of this, but the reality is that light is in us waiting to emerge. And so those activations act as a catalyst for that light to awaken and emerge. And so it expands awareness of self, not only this self. So what that does is it awakens the unconscious and the conscious, right? So this is where the integration and having a guide is really powerful and important, because you start to see the contents of your mind, your entire mind, not, because sometimes people think that when they have a DNA activation, it's just going to be like instant bliss. But it's a revelation of mind at every single level. So you start to know thyself. You start to see and experience all the different dimensions of your own mind, and then all of the dimensions of this collective mind that we are all experiencing together, and the esoteric nature of that. And so all of those dormant potentials get switched on. And as you become more self-aware, you become more aware of your creative capacity and potential. And then you can utilize that potential because you're now aware of it. And you can play with it and create with it and experience it and test out new ways of utilizing it to support yourself and your creation and other people as well. And you can get into different healing modalities and different psychic technologies, really. I mean, I utilize, it's a natural extension of my own being to utilize psychic technology. It's not, so I could record that and transmit that to somebody, but it's just something that I do because I'm aware that I can, and when I do, when I need to, as I feel called to inside of my creation. And we all have the capacity to do that, but part of awakening the DNA, awakening remembrance, is a part of having those recognitions that we are supernatural. We are, there's so many beings on this planet that are not fully human. We're all hybrid to some extent or another. A lot of us are more aware of that and aware of our capacity within, inhabiting, embodying an upgraded genome and what we can do with that, and how we can utilize it to support others and to create more as well. To create more beneficial things that are more beneficial, I suppose, because up until this point, consciousness has been, we have been unconsciously creating quite a few things. It's just, and it's just fine. It's all such a beautiful learning process, but we're kind of looking at the world now and going, okay, this is what we've created. This is what we have used our mind for. How can we optimize our mind so that we can optimize this external picture that we're looking at here? Because action follows mind, anyways. So the moment that we get this aligned, our actions will be aligned to this in here. And I just personally like to go to the root and then encourage that creative action, right? Because it's, I mean, for me, I want it to feel fun. I want it to feel vivacious and alive, and, you know, because what's the point if we're not having fun? And if we go into creating things from that same space of consciousness, we're just going to recreate the new thing, and it's just going to look fancier. It's going to look fancy, and it's going to have the same underlying, you know. So going to the root and optimizing the mind, and really having a new outlook and a new perception of things, a new perception of one another, of ourselves, of life, and introducing that element of celebration into the mix, and not needing everything to be, you know. And I've done this. Man, I've done this because I wanted to be taken seriously, because I knew what I was experiencing inside, and up until the point where I was experiencing this transition, I just had been light and bubbly and happy, and I didn't really care if anybody knew, you know, what I had going on inside. And then I realized people potentially weren't taking me as seriously as I knew what I was experiencing was. And so I went into this serious space, and then it just felt so heavy, and I was like, you know, I'm just going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate life. I'm going to have fun. I'm just going to do what feels most natural to me. And, you know, some people may take me seriously, some people may not, and I'm not really too attached to it in either direction. And my creation has improved exponentially by virtue of that. And that's just what I'm concerned with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's definitely always new levels of creation to be had, I'm sure, and always it's just a continuing learning, becoming more and more powerful creator. But it's interesting just from my experience, because I consider myself to be a pretty tuned in manifester. Like, I understand the process of manifestation and creation and what it takes, and the focus and the patience it takes. And I have been able to manifest things pretty, like, almost instantaneously at times. Like, I know I have that power within me. But it's the interesting thing for me is my life in general is a very kind of gradual unfolding. Like, when I set a new goal, or I step on a new path, things will unfold very rapidly. But once that initial phase is settled in, things move very gradually for me. Like, it's not because my creative powers aren't strong or aren't as powerful. It's just the magnitude of what I'm trying to create is always, everything in my life seems to be long term. There's nothing that I've really tried to create that's you can do in like 3 months, and that's just the way my life is. So what might take one person like a year to manifest, or some goal that they just think of, it'll take me 3 years. And it's not because that's just how my life seems to be. It's like a very gradual unfolding. And the bonus of that, even though it basically testing huge levels of patience and focus, like massive. I think I have to be way more patient than the average manifester or person who manifests. But the benefit, the upside, is that I have to I'm learning, like, I think, levels of focus that most people wouldn't have to tap into, those reserves that most people wouldn't need, and go to those places that most people wouldn't have to go to. So while it is a challenge, I definitely see it as a gift, because it's just pushing me to refine my creative powers. And if everything just came to me like quickly, I wouldn't have that challenge. I wouldn't have that be like pushed to reach that level of mastery. So it's just I've observed that's the way my life path goes, and it's just kind of learn to embrace it. And it is challenging, but I'm starting to find it quite interesting, actually. I'm quite enjoying the process, but it is challenging than the average life path, I think.
It's really beautiful. I'm kind of seeing like the momentum of a freight train, which is powerful, because when you pick up that momentum, it carries itself. Its power and its magnitude, like you said, it carries itself. So that's beautiful. And the obstacles that show up along the way are just simply tests of will, tests of vision, tests of trust, faith, knowing. Do you believe or do you know? We talked about this a little bit in the last. This is where knowing is powerful, because I kind of see it as a succession. First you believe, then you trust, then you know. You know that I am, and I have decided.
Yeah.
And that's the elegant simplicity of it. And these little tests that come up are reflection of in my experience, reflections of my own mind and my consciousness, saying, do you trust in your vision? Do you know that your vision is coming to fruition? Are you committed to it? And are you going to allow this obstacle to just sway you? And there might be brief moments where like a little bit of doubt slips in. And then thank goodness I've got just an arsenal of tools to just snap right back into my knowing, without allowing those things to deter me. And then they're really brilliantly planted aspects of my own consciousness coming to test my resolve, essentially. And will I commit to my vision without allowing somebody else's vision for me to throw me off? And this is where, so I am a psychic, and then I can tune into exactly what's occurring in somebody's field, and I can tap into past and future timelines. But my insight to everybody with that is I can read the state of the energy, but you have the sole power to shift that in any moment. So nothing that anybody tells us about our state is writ in stone, is the ultimate truth, is a deciding factor. So if you're receiving a vision and you believe in it and it's your desire and you are excited about it and it feels maybe like a little bit of a stretch, but you want to go there and you trust it, and somebody comes along and says, well, blank, 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 blank. Those are tests of your own will and your belief in your vision. And are you going to listen to yourself, or are you going to listen to somebody else when it comes to manifesting your dreams and what you know is possible for you and what you know your potential is in this lifetime? And so that in and of itself is a great gift that helps to birth sovereignty. All of those, opportunities that show up on our path. And I think the most beautiful thing for me was recognizing that it was just parts of my own mind. These avatars that were showing up to show me all the places and spaces where maybe I was doubting a little bit, and where I had an opportunity to step more deeply into my own power. Because it's all feedback. And, a mirror, potentially, yes, sometimes. I tend to slide in and out of different spaces where it's not actually a mirror. It's like a completely trans-rational experience that I'm having. And then other times it's just all feedback, and sometimes it's the mirror dynamic. It's just so... it's all that is. So even like playing with shifting in and out of those different states of being, instead of needing to have a blanket belief system for how this thing works or how it operates, and recognizing that it's both, and it's all the things in different moments.
And that's why I love doing the deep work and the meditation and stuff like that, and rewiring, and because it's like, it just becomes, when you really get deep into it and do it consistently and properly, it just becomes so that knowing just becomes almost effortless. It's like it's wired into my consciousness now. You still have to keep it up and maintain it, but it's like it's just a complete energy shift. It's like that's what happened for me, like at the end of 2017. Just a big rewiring through meditating every like for an hour almost every morning. And I came out the other side, and I was just like, it felt so real to me. Like I almost couldn't understand why everything I'd been meditating on hadn't manifested. It was like literally, I felt in my body that I was not living in the reality that I was in. It was I was like, this is amazing. And you just have to. Actually, at one point, it became so like, I was like, so much like, why hasn't it happened? I actually kind of went back a step. I was like, how could I have meditated this much and it not happened? And it's that, like as I said earlier, about my just path being a very gradual unfolding, like the freight train. But I kind of just realised that I'm on the right path, and it's just going to move slower for me, and just get back on track and just keep going, and that knowing just still wired into me. It hasn't gone away, and it just feels really good now. It feels like I'm literally like walking into a new future. Like I can just feel my body's already I can feel the feeling and emotion of what it will be like already in me. So it's just like just keep waking up, just keep showing up every day, and you're just going to walk yourself into the goals and into the visions that you have for yourself. And it feels really, really nice energy now. So
beautiful. Yeah. I think it's important to have those fundamental points of orientation, I call them, with how we orient ourselves. You know, when the ride gets a little wild, when the waves start to come. There's a couple of things for me, but one is just embodying myself as the all that is, and living from that awareness. And then the other one is, and I'm not perfect at all the time, but the more I practice, the better I get, is finding the beauty in everything, even in the challenging moments, but like really looking deeply into those experiences, all of them, and finding the beauty in absolutely everything. I'm like, if I can embody myself and if I can find the beauty wherever I go, then those are good baseline, fundamentals for me. And, everything that I'm doing in my work, the vision of that is clear, but I still like to, just because I'm so creative in this way and with my vision, I love to leave that space for it to constantly be expanding. And not going, there's only some facts that I know to be true. And one of them is consciousness creates matter. And so that is a core fundamental of the work that I do in this world. In the context of that is it has a lot of room to shift and evolve and expand and be playful and fun and present different aspects and elements of that, so that yeah. So this is where it's at for me.
All comes back to what we said earlier. And stepping into the power and that balance, I think. And I feel really, really grateful to be able to have the expansive view that I have. Like, I know there's a lot of people that go through life and not really fully know why they're doing what they're doing. Like, they're successful at work, but they don't really truly know why they're doing it, or they're trying to make the relationship work, and they sense it's the right thing to do. But I'm really grateful to being able to step back and have such a high level view of all those things, and then be able to come back into it and just play the game. Like, I feel like that's like that's happened for me this week. Like I went into the last few weeks, I've been in a state of like such like peace, and I realized it was almost like I stepped out of the Earth life system and just looked at it, and it was extremely peaceful. And I was like, oh, so we learn to create this way, we master our emotional energy this way, we use like analytical thinking this way. And I was like, I built this huge picture, and I was like, so when do I actually kind of like start doing it? It was weird. It created like a lot of like conflict and resistance. I was like how do I, like, you're obviously doing it all the time to some degree, but I think you use those techniques much more intensely at certain times. And I was like, so what do I do now? And like, what's next? And then that was like now this last couple of days where it's like it feels like I've stepped into my body. It was like that place I was in, that peace it was like I was energetic, like stood behind my body, and now it feels like I've just clicked into it, and it's like, yeah, I've arrived and I'm ready to go. I understand what everything's about and what I'm here to do, and I know enough now, and it's just like, just go time. And that was, literally, I can feel, I just feel more in my body. That's the only way I can explain it. Like I felt really like out of my body before, and now it's just like I've stepped into it. Things are going to start moving. But that's what I think. What everyone has, that ability within them, and step into that power, and that's what everyone needs to do. And when you do that, your highest purpose will unfold in amazing ways. And it's already, at some level, maybe not every detail, but it's already like kind of destined, kind of doing what you're here to contribute and your life purpose. And you just have to step into your body, into your power, and just do it. So yeah.
That's just exquisite. Thank you for doing the inner work that you have done in this lifetime to gain that eagle's eye view, and to be able to look in and see all the different stories and timelines and options and choices, and to be consciously selecting to live in and see the higher dimensional timelines. That's a profound gift to all of us. And I think that's, really the work at this time is for us to get into our bodies and start living in the vision, to start living in our version of heaven on earth, to start, instead of thinking that we need to work to get there, to start living in it powerfully now, to see it and to feel it and to know that it is in fact already here. We just need to shift our vision.
You can experience wholeness on earth. You don't have to, you can be full and complete and whole while you're here. You don't have to wait till you disappear off somewhere else.
I appreciate. I feel you have so much. You said magnitude, and I feel it. You have magnitude and depth and vastness. I feel that really masculine observer. You've done a lot of deep exploration in the quantum field. Yeah, it's beautiful. I appreciate you going to those depths, and going out into the wave field of potential and possibility to self-discover and to see from a more expanded perspective, so that you could then bring that back here. So yeah, thank you.
It's been a journey. Amazing one.
Yeah, you have so much to offer, so much wisdom inside of you.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you. I'm sure we met up in that field a few times.
Probably.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, maybe next time we can talk about the multiple or infinite universe theory.
Yeah.
Interconnection to this whole thing, because so much science is coming up in my mind now too about particle accelerators, and I just want to hop off because I know we're getting long, and last time it was, I'm realizing with these videos, the shorter I keep them, the easier it is to convert. Otherwise I've been having a tough time converting them, and it becomes a gymnastics type experience. So but yeah, I would love to get into more of the science of it next time, and talk about some of the quantum mechanics of this, because I know, I mean, that's just like embedded probably in us to a certain degree. So I would love to go there and play with that. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and your energy, and for bringing your presence and holding the space that you hold. I just appreciate you.
You too, thank you. And it's always great to be able to talk to you.
Ditto. Yeah. Thank you. All right, well, I will connect with you again next Friday. And I'm excited to hear about your adventures between now and then.
Awesome.
All right, Chris, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.